Welcome, everybody. I know it takes a minute for sort of people to hop in, so I will cover the most boring part of the next half hour together, which is just introducing myself. I'm Sam Carpenter. I am a new and very proud member of LookUp's board, so very excited to be here today with the Y4Y Summit. So hopefully, as people are hopping in now, I get to introduce the very exciting person that I'm here with today, Marissa Meizz, who is the founder of No More Lonely Friends and a TikTok creator and all around force for good, which was very clear after we chatted yesterday. So we have a short bit of time together. So Marissa, I'm just going to ask you to sort of, go through your elevator sort of quick version of who are you?
I am Marissa Meizz. I am 23 and I reside in New York City when I'm home. I basically had a viral video on TikTok that the whole world saw. And basically it was about this guy who overheard these two girls talking poorly about me, and those girls happened to be my friends, and it got back to me. And basically I turned that, flipped it upside down, the whole lemons into lemonade thing, and basically turned it into a worldwide friendship movement called No More Lonely Friends, that now I travel around the world and host these meetups for people to meet friends, and also just encourage people to use social media for good, and also stepping out of their comfort zone, because friends were always strangers at one point.
You really set that up for me to sort of slam dunk the transition into the topic today. So thank you so much for that. I know that we're going to sort of spend the majority of the time talking about the positive power of social media. But I think one of the ways that we all kind of start thinking about that is, unfortunately, there is a toxic side to it. If you could just really briefly, I know you sort of quickly talked about it, but what sort of happened that set the stage for you founding No More Lonely Friends?
Basically, when that video went viral on TikTok, I kind of got a very large boatload of messages overnight, still do to this day, of 5,000 plus messages of people saying, like, let's be friends, forget your old friends, hey, I saw the video, like, that's not how a friend should be, etc. Like, let's be friends, even if they were in New York or in Japan, across the world. Like, they were giving me this message of, hey, I've been through this before, like, let's be friends and meet up. So then I decided to take that and be like, you know what, if all these people are messaging me, let's just all meet up in one place and become friends, if that's what we want to do. So I hosted the first meetup, and about 200 or so people showed up, and I was like, what is going on? And from there, I took that, and people were like, come to my city, can you please do this in my city? And then I just started traveling and doing the meetups in just places around the world. And currently I'm in Canada, doing 2 this weekend in Canada.
That's awesome. So you kind of took a viral online experience and made it viral in real life. 200 people showed up to the first meeting. That's amazing. I'm sorry, my dog is whining in the background, so it should stop in a second.
No worries.
So can you sort of tell us a little bit some of the things that you were thinking about? Like, how do you translate that online experience of, like, let's all get together and actually be friends? How do you translate to being in person?
A big kind of positive thing about No More Lonely Friends is that it is a safe space, and I make it very clear that I don't stand for anything that's negative or like intolerable. So when people come to these meetups, they know that they're in a space that everyone feels the same way. Everyone's there to make friends, everyone's there to have a good time, and everyone's there to meet people. And so when people show up, they have this expectation of, cool, like, everyone here is on the same page. And I translate that very much so on social media, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. I make sure that people know that when they show up, they're going to feel like they're welcome. And kind of, if you don't feel that way, like, I know you're not going to show up, because, like, you wouldn't, kind of, like, if you're going to be negative about it, like, it's not going to work. So it really translates well with people online, that they know when they show up, they're going to be welcomed and happy, like, to be there.
And can you elaborate a little bit on, like, what is that secret sauce? They've all followed No More Lonely Friends. They're getting together for the first time. You're going from virtual to in person. What is that energy like when you get there?
The coolest thing about it is when people walk up, they know me from following me online usually, but even if they don't know me, I'll walk up to them and be like, listen, like, hi, I'm Marissa. I'm the creator of this, whatever. And be like, here's some drinks, here's some snacks, like go up to a group, say your name, whatever. And every single person, it's super cool. That the coolest thing I love to watch is, when we're in a big field or something for the meetup or a park or whatever, and people see people walking across the lawn and they instantly like see them and they're like, hey, like come over, sit down and blah, blah, blah. And having me push that positive mindset online makes the people that show up have that same mindset of like, they're welcome, they're understanding, everyone's there to meet each other. And so people have that like, okay, I'm here to meet people. I know other people are, like, let's enjoy each other. So it has that welcoming factor of everyone there is just really on the same page. And it's so nice to see, but it's also everyone's, coming out of this 2 years of isolation, everyone wants that personal, face-to-face like meeting already and meeting friends. So when people come to the meetups, they're already like, okay, I'm ready to meet some people and everything. And that's also a better mindset. So when you push positivity and kind of let people know like no negative things will be tolerated here, it puts out a really good message of the people that do show up will be there for a good reason.
And this is actually a question that I was going to save for later, but now that you sort of brought it up, I would love to know, how are you thinking about, we're in this weird moment right now, right? We're going through a pandemic, and it can make it harder to physically inhabit the same space as other people. So how do you think about that with the concepts that you're putting forward with No More Lonely Friends?
Do you mean that in a way of people like being in the same space, like around each other?
Yeah.
Or
How do you, if you're not walking across that field and having that special moment, how do you kind of carry that forward as you're thinking about, how do I make real friends for myself?
Yeah. Are you, sorry, one more. Are you talking about in like at the meetups or outside of the meetups?
A little bit of both. So I guess,
Okay.
the actual in-person stuff, how are you thinking about that now to kind of keep it accessible and safe, but also there have been moments where none of us have been able to do that. We've been sort of forced into quarantine, forced into staying home. How are you thinking about that? And how do you kind of get through that?
I think there's a two ways that can kind of go about. The cool thing about No More Lonely Friends stuff is that we're meeting in outside in parks, like very like open spaces, very much so, you can wear a mask if you want, anything, no one will stop you. And even if you're not meeting at the No More Lonely Friends event, I think that a big thing is kind of pushing forward into putting yourself out there now. And I think that now it's more acceptable, I guess you could say, for people to meet online or meet and then meet in person or anything like that. And if you're meeting at the event and you want to keep that friendship going and everything, like, you can get each other's contact info, etc. But also I've loved these idea of these like group friendship dates, I guess, where if you're too afraid to meet someone one-on-one for coffee or an awkward friend date, or you're like, is this a date? Like, I don't know. I love doing like meeting 3 people or something and being like, hey, we're all going to get dinner together. So you have that kind of, you can have that one-on-one, but you also have the group conversation. So there's never really awkward moments, but it's also like a good kind of safe environment of, okay, at least I have these other people here, and just in case this doesn't work out or something like that, And I think that kind of helps a lot, especially if you're meeting people for the first time. Like these group friend dates are really nice, or if you go out to the park or even just sit around or whatever. But like, yeah, even getting dinner, anything like that really, really just works well, I feel like.
I love that. I think the outside piece is obviously key, and keeping it sort of group oriented takes that pressure off. I know you and I were talking about that, and like when online first became a thing, it was like, oh, you're meeting somebody from the internet, right? And there's still a little bit of that. So I think it's really nice knowing you have that point of connection, right? Like you're all interested in the No More Lonely Friends movement. You're all interested in being part of that, and it just sets the tone right from the beginning. I think, one thing, and I know I've experienced sort of exclusion and being left out when I was in middle school and high school. There's kind of some version of this, right, that happens sort of in each period of life. So, for the audience members who maybe they're younger and they don't have all that much autonomy, or maybe it's the parents of a child, right, who's going through something like this. Can you sort of talk, like, how do you get through it in the moment? And how do you sort of, what's helpful to think about, the impact of, your behavior or what you say on another person, and how that can sort of make somebody feel alienated versus supported and loved?
Yeah, I think that a really big thing that I talked to somebody about this yesterday. If you are around people and all they're doing is talking poorly about somebody else, what do you think they're going to be doing when you're gone? They're going to be talking about you while you're gone. And that's no place to put anyone, whether it's your close friend or not. It just, I hope you stick up for your friends if someone is talking poor about them like that. But I think in the moment, if something like this happens, it's really hard to look past, especially if you've been friends with them a long time, or if you really try to see the best in people. It's really hard to move past just being like, oh, forget them, it's fine, especially if you're in school with them or close with them or anything like that. I think that a big kind of advice, I guess, to give people is that it's better to push those friendships aside and kind of just move past those and be alone for a little while you try to reach and get to those friendships that really matter and support you and back you and everything. And even if you're alone for a little bit, a few months, whatever it is, I think that the really kind of deep thing to look into yourself is, would you rather hang out with these friends and make them feel poorly about you and have them know they talk about you this way? Or would you rather be alone for a little bit, trying to search for those people that actually care enough to support you and love you and really push those friendships to the max? And I think that's a really hard thing to look past. But when I kind of got like slapped in the face with it in front of the whole world, it was like, oh, okay, now I have to really do it, because people would be like, why would you go back to that? And people think that relationships with a partner or anything don't really have much to do with like friendships. And I'm like, if you don't have a friendship with your partner or significant other, like, would you have a relationship with a friend? Like, if they don't treat you the same way that you would want like a partner to treat you, then why be around them? Because they're not going to support you, they're not going to love you, uplift you, back you and everything. So it's really hard to look past it in the sense, but you got to really push yourself to see from an outsider's perspective on how poorly it's going to affect your mental health or just in general of your life, and wasting time into maybe finding new friendships that will help you better.
I know, and one of these things that you just touched on, I kind of want you to talk a little bit more about, because I think when you and I were chatting yesterday, getting to know one another, one of the things we talked about was, the friendship that you have on TikTok or Instagram or any sort of social, Snapchat, whatever it is, right? It's very different from an in-person friendship. And so, this horrible thing happened, you created this whole community about making new friends in real life. And you started to talk about, like, how do you really, sit with the fact that somebody might not be your friend, and what do you really want from individual friends, from a friend group, right? So what are some of those like red flags that you look out for when somebody may not be your friend? And how do you really sort of define a good friendship, like a healthy friendship, for yourself?
I think some red flags that I immediately think of is, say you tell somebody good news, how do they react to it? Are they hyping you up? Are they like, this is awesome, you're the best, like, I can't believe this, what can I do, like, let's go celebrate you? Or are they like, oh, well, you didn't really deserve it, or like, oh, that's great, anyway, like, look what happened in my day? It's like stuff like that you just really like, oh, you were totally invalidated what I just told you, great. I think that also a big thing is that seeing how they are in different situations. Are they great around other friends? Do they treat you poorly when other people are around? Do they treat you differently when certain people are around? Are they different around other people? That's also like a really big thing. If they can be around, if you can be around them and be yourself, if you don't have to change up yourself or change multiple versions of yourself, that's a huge thing. I used to do that when I was a kid, because some people would be like, yo, you're too much, you're too much. And so I'd be like, oh, sorry. And I would calm down in this some sense. And then my other friends would be like, you're perfectly great, like, this is awesome. And I would be able to be myself. And that's when I realized, like, those were my true friends, because they actually cared to let me be myself and not, dumb me down a little bit. And also I think that What I look for in a friendship was the question you asked, correct?
Yeah, what does a healthy friendship look like for you, sort of on the converse of that question?
I think a healthy friendship is a two-way street. There's things that happen in people's lives that sometimes you think it might be a one-way street, but it's not. It's just maybe they're going through something mentally that they're not able to respond to your texts, or maybe not responding in a general sense of being able to hang out all the time or anything like that. Mutual friendship, when nobody benefits from one another higher than the other. There's no levels, there's no queen bee with her minions, like none of that. It's just everyone's on the same playing field, everyone's on the same team. We all help each other grow, we all help each other just succeed, we all care. And that if I asked you something to do, you would be able to ask me back, and I would be able to do it as well. If somebody asks you like, hey, can you do me this favor, and you're like, yes, and you expect something back, it's like, okay, like, but in the end, like if I need your help or something and you came back and you're like, not right now, you'd be like, oh, that's not okay, like I helped you with this. So I think that just two-way streets is really important, and also just recognizing support in a friendship and always supporting your friends no matter what.
I think it's really helpful to have that as kind of like the grounding of some of these questions that are coming in. So I know I have more questions, and I feel like I could continue to talk to you about this all day, but I want to make sure we get to some of the ones our audience has asked us.
Yeah, of course.
And I think this is a good one. And you were talking a little bit about, like what kind of version of yourself do you have to be around people? And so I think, this is a question that sort of touches on pieces of that, but I know you'll have more to say also. How do you deal with misunderstandings that you have on, with your online friends? That there's a miscommunication there or something like that.
Are you talking about if I like haven't met with them in person or something like that, or if it's with the people that posted the videos about?
I think the way the question is phrased, I think it may be more like something along the lines of what happened with those friends. Like, how did you deal with that misunderstanding?
So in the beginning, I didn't really have time almost to process it, because when this happened, it was like instantly viral. I got thousands and thousands and thousands of messages. And in the end, they still have not spoken to me. They haven't reached out to me. They haven't apologized, nothing. And at this point, truly, I am glad almost, because I didn't have to deal with that negative energy almost trying to come back and like do whatever. And if they tried to apologize at this day, I would be like, you know what? Okay, like great, we're moving on. But I don't have necessarily bad blood or beef or anything with them. But also it's more to the sense of, it's been 5-6 months now, and we're past it. I'm an adult. I think that I have better friends now. I've met almost all of my best friends through No More Lonely Friends, which is kind of crazy. But I also think that just holding that in is gonna take away from your other friendships. I don't mess with that anymore. I don't talk to them, because I have now my closest friends that I look at and I'm like, cool, I'll focus on this and put all of my energy into these friendships of people that care about me, rather than focus on something in the past that they don't really care anymore, and they also just don't really serve any purpose anymore. So I've definitely pushed all of my energy into my new friendships and cared more about those people that care about me.
And this is actually a great segue, because the next question is how, have you found friends by going through the process of No More Lonely Friends? And there's sort of a second piece to that. Do you know, how folks within the community, the No More Lonely Friends community, are they making long-term friends as well, even outside of scheduled meetups? So I imagine you have probably plenty to say on sort of the dynamics of the community.
Yeah, two things about that. One, I have met my best friends through No More Lonely Friends. And I'm not even saying in a sense of how long I've known them. They are the most supportive, amazing, caring people I have ever met. And I just throw it back right at them. Like I would die for these people. And it's crazy, because we've just met through these picnics and stuff. But the bonding that came through that was crazy. And, I was like, in the beginning, I was like, maybe it's just me. And then someone yesterday asked me like, what keeps you going through this? And I'm like, the messages that I get from people that are saying, I met my best friend, I met my roommate, I met my soulmate, I met my partner, I met this. And I personally, it like brings me to tears sometimes, because it's absolutely insane to see that these people are meeting their best friends that they just would have never crossed paths with. And it's also awesome seeing people meet potential partners, or even just like roommates, or even just people that will cross their paths. And there was this one girl who actually messaged me, Julianne, and she had she met up at the DC picnic, and 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later was her birthday, and she's never really had anyone celebrate her birthday with her. And all those people from the picnic that she met, and they were in a group chat together, and they threw her a surprise party, and so many people came and all this stuff, and she cried the whole time, and she was like, this was the best birthday I've ever had. And all, it's just stuff like that that really like gets me emotional and really just pushes me to keep going with this stuff, because it does. I do see the other side, and I see all the messages and the photos and the texts and everything that people send me, like, hey, just letting you know we're getting dinner today, or hey, we went on a week-long camping trip together. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So yeah, it's really awesome.
That's awesome. That's such a touching story, the birthday, throwing a surprise party. I mean, it really, it's incredible that you meet each other online.
Yeah.
And because the culture is really about, taking that into real life, really connecting with one another, and things like that happen. I think that's a great, energy to grow on. And actually, as we have about one more minute together, so I'm going to sneak this last question in. So you take that energy, people meeting each other, finding your best friends, potentially finding partners, right? Throwing surprise parties for one another. What's next for No More Lonely Friends?
Yeah, so I am finishing up. I'm on tour right now, if you want to call it that, until the end of the year. I'm doing 2 states per weekend usually. I post all of it on No More Lonely Friends on Instagram. And I am trying to basically see what's next, because I don't even know what's going to happen in 2 weeks. It always changes and everything. And I think that my biggest like kind of goal, I guess, is to do like a yearly annual like festival of, it's almost like Coachella, but like for meeting friends, and there's events, and there's, music and food and all this stuff. That's what I really, it's a big goal for me for sure, but I really want it to happen, and I think I can do it. And just keep on going with these picnics. I want to turn it into like almost like a team thing where we have different people in different states hosting them, so I don't have to go to all of them and stuff like that. But as of now, I go to all of them. I think I've done like 25 so far in all different states around America, and I'm in Canada now, and I'm going to London next month. So yeah, if you don't think it's in your city, it's in your city probably. And I'm really excited, especially just to be able to meet these people and have these people meet each other that they would have never met before.
That's awesome. I think we've hit all of the questions that came in through Whova. So I hope that we answered everyone's questions there. I just want to say thank you so much, not only for taking, half an hour out of your day right now, but also just for the movement you're building. I think, the loneliness and the feeling left out, all of those things are the things that we've all experienced, right? And so the fact that you have created this whole community that dramatically changes that for people is just really incredible. So a big thank you so much. Putting that out into the world.
Thanks.
And
thank you so much.
And it sounds like, maybe, I don't know if anybody's joining us from Canada, but it sounds like there's picnics going on. So so
Canada,
what are the
picnics, Canada, everything. So you can find all the details on my Instagram, which is No More Lonely Friends. And I also usually post it on my TikTok and my Instagram, my personal one, which is Marissa Meizz. It's just my name. But yes, all of the details are always going to be on No More Lonely Friends Instagram, and any updates or weather, anything like that will always be on there. But yes, I hope to see you there. And I know that there's a lot of London people in here, so can't wait to see you in London next month in November. So I'm excited about that. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Marissa. Maybe I'll see you at a California picnic sometime soon. Enjoy
Yay!
Canada.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Goodbye, everybody.